All right, just so that we're recording, it was called to order at 10:03. All right, anyone, Marcus Diller, Gina, Housing Authority. Access Foundation. If you can unmute yourself, please put it in the chat box so that we can ensure that we record your attendance, which is important to maintain or gain your voting privileges. All right. Catholic Charities.
Yes, good morning. This is Maria with Catholic Charities.
Thank you, Maria. CityNet. I see Karen's here. City of Eastvale. And as we go through this, if you do not see someone as a secondary here, it means we don't have anyone as a secondary rep. So if you don't have one, please make sure to reach out to us so that we can get the letter to you to update that. It's also on our website, so you can assign a secondary in the event that you can't make the meetings. Okay. I've got the City of Hemet noted.
Yes, here.
City of Lake Elsinore.
I see Nicole on the line.
Sorry,
Thank
yes,
you.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. City of Menifee.
Yes, good morning, Edna LeBron.
City of Moreno Valley. City of Murrieta.
Yes, Brian Ambrose.
City of Paris.
Good morning, City of Paris, Rebecca Rivera.
Thank you. CBAG.
Good morning, Tom Cox here.
Thank you. Jim Bolus. All right. CVRM.
Kimberly McKinney.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Community Health Association. DPSS. Faith in Action. Family Promise.
Hi, Vicki Bowditch. I'm here. Good morning.
Habitat for Humanity.
I'm here. Tammy Marine.
Martha's Village and Kitchen.
Melanie, I received an email from Linda Barak, and she said she tried to call in with the audio number, but then she's not able to get in. I'm trying to help her, so please continue.
Okay. I've got Mercy House. Molina. Operation Safe House.
Good morning, Rainbow with Operation Safe House.
All right. Animal Services. RCOE.
Stefan McPeace.
Marcus, are you here?
Yes, Marcus here from Behavioral Health.
All right. Step up on second.
Okay.
Yes, this is Albert Rivera with Step Up on Second.
Thank you. Transgender.
Transgender Health and Wellness Center.
All right. UCR. US Vets. Valley Restart. Okay, if I did not call out your name, please make sure to put it in the chat box. I'm only going through those with voting rights, so we know who to call on any voting method measures. So if I did not call you out, please make sure to put it in the chat box. If there's anyone that has called in that can't put it in the chat box, please let me know now so that we can record your attendance.
Melanie, I just noticed that in the attendance, like among the attendants, nobody is using the audio, and maybe because people can't call in audio only because the numbers on the agenda listed is not, like, I tried it myself just now, and it says that cannot find a conference. So I'm going to find out if the numbers have changed, and so please be aware of that.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. I'll turn it back over to you, and I'll continue going through the chat box and updating the attendance so that we have it recorded.
All right, great. Thank you, Melanie. And we do definitely have a quorum. So thank you, everybody, for joining. I just wanted to highlight our new voting members. Many of you are familiar with Cordell Thomas, but he's with now the Access Foundation and the alternate Uriam Thomas. I hope I didn't butcher that name. Welcome to the city of Marietta. Brian Ambrose is on the line, and the alternate is Sergeant Matt Embry. And then Faith in Action of the San Gorgonio Pass. So welcome, Carol Alba, and the alternate is Mary Hamlin. So again, welcome to the new members. For those of you who may not be members on the line, again, if you attend three meetings consecutively, you are eligible to become a voting member, and we encourage that participation. So we will move to item 2, approval of the minutes, which were sent to you with the email, and that's the May 26, 2021. Any corrections or revisions? And if there are any corrections, revisions, or comments as we move through the meeting, please raise your hand. And I'm not seeing any, so I'd enter. Okay,
Good
one
morning.
second.
I'm sorry. I do have a correction. This is Edna LeBron.
Sure.
I'm not showing myself in attendance, and I was in attendance.
Okay, we'll make that note, Edna. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further corrections or questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Karen Roper, so moved.
Thank you, Karen. Is there a second?
Kimberly McKinney.
Thanks, Kimberly. Any further discussion? So raise your hand or just jump in. All right, seeing none, is there any opposition? If so, raise your hand, please. All right, seeing no any opposition, any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Thank you all. Moving on to item 3, public comments. Did we receive any public comments written?
We did not.
Okay. And any public comments from the public online? So raise your hand. Yeah, Vicky Footage.
Hi, everybody. I just put in the chat that Family Promise is looking for 2 more board members. We're going to be losing 2. So if anyone's interested, I did put my email in the chat. Please do let me know, and we'll start the process. So thank you very much for allowing me to announce that.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. Appreciate that. Cindy.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to let this forum know that the Housing Authority started a landlord incentive program. So if you know of any landlords with available properties, we have voucher holders that are out in the looking for available rentals. So for a landlord who has not participated with our program in the last 12 months or more, we are offering a $2,500 landlord incentive when they lease to one of our voucher holders. If they are existing landlords, if they have available units, we have a $500 incentive for them for each voucher holder they lease their units to. And lastly, since we're an income-based rental assistance program, there are times where we have to negotiate the rent. So we are offering a rent affordability incentive where if we ask them to lower the rent by $100, we will pay them $1,200 as an incentive for lowering that rent.
Great. Thank you, Cindy, very much. So, thank you for everything your department does too. Very helpful to me. So HARP Outreach.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I want to take the opportunity to introduce our new HARP Outreach deputies, Deputy Enox, and he will be in San Jacinto helping us assist those on the streets out here.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Congratulations on the formation of the cool team.
Thank you.
Dave Jacobs.
Morning. Just want to announce that over here at Camp Anza, we have one apartment unit, a 3-bedroom unit that's available for a veteran household that's in need of housing. So if anybody knows somebody, I'm going to go ahead and put the information in the chat, and they can contact our community director and hopefully get somebody into this place.
Thank you, David. Any further public comments? All right, not seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, old business. Item A is the fiscal year 2021 HUD CoC program scorecard ad hoc updates. Natalis, you're going to kick this off, I imagine.
Great. Good morning, everyone. There's Natalis here. I'm the Admin Services Officer of the HHPWS Continuum of Care Division. So this item is about the fiscal year 2021 HUD CoC program scorecard ad hoc update. And I would like to say a big thank you to our consultants, Urban Initiatives consultants, and also our mighty ad hoc work group members. And I'm going to call them out, and they have spent a lot of hours and then a lot of brain energy to help us recommend the updates. And they are Casey Jackson, Part of Life Ministries, Karen Younglow from Lighthouse, and Michelle Davis from City of Riverside, and Susan from Valley Restart. Thank you very much. And then so we are recommending changes and updates for the following 3 items. The 2021 HUD CoC program competition project scorecard template for the renewal project. And then the second item is a similar scorecard, but then it would be for the new projects. And then the third one are the policies and procedures for the review and the project evaluation. So so first of all, I would like to so the actual materials you can access the materials through the link to the Google Drive, and there are quite a bit of them. And then they were also sent out by email yesterday, and I hope you had the opportunity to review them. And then here is the summary. And for the renewal project scorecard, the main recommendation changes include number 2, the housing stability to include obtain and maintain permanent housing. And number 4, income growth to allow 1 point for 0% growth, because maintaining income, is still like for our population, it still takes effort. It's still a good thing, to help our clients to maintain income. And then the 5-point maximum for anyone who achieved 12% or higher income growth. And then so number 10, Social Security insurance and Social Security disability insurance, technical assistance to include own process or using CoC and DPSS partnership, the MOU that we established. And staff SOAR training has been removed, as HUD requirement focuses on SSI and SSDI and mainstream benefits as outlined in number 8 through 10. So that is already covered. And number 14, cost effectiveness using median cost of successful outcome instead of average cost. Number 17, data quality instead of accuracy. And number 23, involuntary family separation added language as appropriate per project target population and requirement per regulation code, because not every project serves family. So, and then change of entity from DPSN and HHPWS and minor language changes in number 5, number 6, number 15, 19, 21 on this scorecard. So again, if you want to see full details and what the actual scorecard looks like, there is the red line version and a clean version on the Google Doc and also emailed yesterday. Next slide, please. Okay, so now when it comes to the new projects, and the new project scorecard is I'm sorry, it should not say now. It's new. So sorry for my typo. So the new project scorecard is new, and then the key points include section 1 and applicant eligibility threshold includes 6 major HUD mandates applicable to new project applicants. Renewal project recipients have already met these requirements at the time of their first application and ongoing monitoring. And then below, I have put down side by side the new project scorecard and the renewal project scorecard. And then if you take a look, the first 50 points on the left side, new project has to do with applicant experience, project design, and system of compliance. And that is mirroring the system performance measures and the program compliance on the right-hand side. So that total 50 points. And then the remaining 50 points, they are pretty much identical. Yeah, so because the two scorecards, while they are separate scorecards, but then they are meant to be, once the scores come out, and then we are able to compare apples to apples. So when it comes to the policy and procedures, and the main recommended changes include the title of document change to HUD CoC program. We want it to be dedicated to the HUD CoC program. And then all elements referring to state programs and requirements are removed throughout the document. Background to include county department restructuring and creation of review committee to include ad hoc committee. And entire document made to mirror the evaluation tools for new projects and renewal projects, and change of entity from DPSS to HHBWS and minor language changes in other areas. So now, having gone through all these, and then I would say before we go into the motion, and then I think we would need to allow the public to have an opportunity to give any public comments before we ask for the motion and before we vote, right?
Correct.
Before we jump into that, I just wanted to personally thank Casey and Karen and Michelle and Susan. These are seasoned veterans with a huge amount of experience who are all extremely busy people. And they took a lot of time out of their busy schedules to help us. And I just want to say thank you to you guys. We all appreciate the benefits that we're going to receive from your input, and also to Natalis, who's done such a great job collaborating with Joe Coletti's team and the folks that volunteer to help our continuum of care. So good job to you too as well, Natalis.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Any questions or comments from the public or even voting members or guests? Just such a thorough job, Natalis. So
thank you. So we are asking the recommended motion. We are asking the board to approve the following items: the 2021 HUD CoC program competition project scorecard templates for the renewal projects. And the second item is also the scorecard template for new projects. And then the third one is the policy and procedure governing these renewal funding review and project evaluation.
Great. Michelle, I saw your hand up. Michelle Davis, did you have something, or I see it's down now, but.
No, I just wanted to add, I wanted to thank Natalis because he really took his time in setting up several follow-up meetings with the group so we could take our time reviewing and providing great feedback. So I just want to appreciate for his leadership in this effort.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Any other questions or comments? I would. Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought I heard Susan trying to make a comment. No?
No, I think she was just saying that she's on the line now.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add on again, my thanks to the ad hoc committee and the great work Natalis did. I think it's also important to point out that in the quote unquote state audit, and also the gaps analysis, which we'll discuss later, you know, the issue of new projects versus renewal projects came up. And so it's obvious our team and staff has been proactive in addressing that, even besides what's been reported. So again, thank you for the great work. With that, I would entertain a motion to accept the staff recommendations.
This is Angelina Call. I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Angelina. Is there a second?
Michelle Davis, City of Riverside, I'll second it.
Thank you, Michelle. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Any opposition to the motion? If so, raise your hand, please, so we have your name on file. Seeing no opposition, any abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Thanks again, everybody, for great work on this. So,
wonderful. Thank you very much.
Item number B is emergency housing vouchers, and Cindy Hui is going to present on this item.
Good morning, everyone, again. So the Housing Authority received word last month that we have received 347 emergency housing vouchers. I know we prepared a slide presentation, so if we can get that on the screen, that'll be great. Thank you. So we're not the only agency. There were over 70,000 of these housing vouchers distributed to housing authorities across the nation. It is part of the American Rescue Plan of 2021. And these vouchers are targeted for a specific population, but in all those populations, it is to help families find and lease decent, safe, and affordable units. The good news is, while we have received the initial 347 vouchers, once they are leased, it will become a part of our annual contribution contract. So we will receive continued funding to continue helping these families year after year as long as they remain eligible. So it's not a one-time assistance or a limited assistance. Next slide, please. So the targeted populations are those that are homeless, at risk of homeless, fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking, and those that are recently homeless as determined by the HUD secretary. And so basically, if they may not be homeless, but are at serious risk, they are eligible and fall into this criteria as well. Next slide, please. So we have, these vouchers actually are pretty unique because normally in our normal funding, we just receive money for rental assistance to help with their monthly rent. There isn't any monies that can help them with security deposit, utility deposit, other moving expenses that are needed in order for a family to successfully lease up a new unit. These emergency housing vouchers come with additional funds to not only help with the security deposit and utility deposit, but we can also help with housing search, owner recruitment. So such as the landlord initiative incentive program that we put together, we're hoping that we can add to that and continue it past December 31st of this year, because our landlord incentive is part of our other CARES Act funding, and that is set to sunset at the end of this year. So we're also going to, oh, thank you. Just to let you know, renter's insurance. A lot of apartment communities now are asking for renter insurance, and that is an unaffordable cost for our low-income families. So this will also help with that as well, and hopefully lessen the strain that we've put on other community providers to put funds together for this purpose. So initially, with the PIH notice that was issued, HUD was very clear. They wanted housing authorities to partner with the Continuum of Care, specifically their coordinated entry system. So we have started working with the CoC, and we are working with County Council to get an MOU approved so that we can start operation with the emergency housing vouchers in July. As I stated, while this funding will be renewed, HUD did set a sunset. So we know that not everyone we're going to assist 347 families and that's it. There are times when families may achieve self-sufficiency or they are just not able to stay eligible for our program. We are able to reissue these vouchers, but HUD set a sunset in that we can only reissue the vouchers until September 30th of 2023. After that date, should a emergency housing voucher participant fall off program, our agency wouldn't be able to find a new family to reissue these vouchers to.
All right. I'm going to jump in on that. Thank you, Cindy. My name is Jamie Gibson. I am a senior program specialist with the Continuum of Care and wanted to let everybody know what Cindy had already started discussion about regarding our partnership with the Housing Authority. The CoC has began drafting and we've already submitted for review an MOU. And we have to establish that and submit that to HUD by July 31st of 2021. And you'll see on the screen, we do have a couple recommendations for the use of these vouchers. And that's, you know, of course, taking these referrals through the CES system, but also to alleviate some of our PSH turnover beds, supporting our Moving On initiative. And then, of course, we want to set aside some of these vouchers for the domestic violence victims and human trafficking victims. So I included a link at the bottom of the slide, and that's the HUD link to the EHV program. So that way, if you guys have further information that you're requesting or regulations, we can reference that link. Next slide. So one of the PIH requirements is the continued collaboration with the Housing Authority, the CoC, and possible other community partners. And so what we're looking at is looking to partner and work with the development of this program with other emergency shelters, bridge housing projects, rapid rehousing projects, to ensure that we're utilizing these vouchers in the best way possible for our clients. Next slide, please. So I wanted to end with this slide, letting everyone know in this meeting that we are wanting to partner with other agencies who are likely to have eligible clients that would fit this criteria. And we do also want to stress that we want to include those of lived experience of homelessness, any minorities or underserved populations. We want to kind of create a planning committee, planning process to make sure that we carry out this. So if anybody in this meeting or someone or an agency is interested, please email me. I'll include my email in the chat box. But we certainly have not launched just yet, but we definitely want to get the planning started. Donna, well, actually, looks like there's two hands up. I'm not sure who raised their hand first, Greg.
First of all, start with Donna. Craig.
I was just going to ask, when you're looking at agencies, are you including the school districts that actually have dedicated people to help with the precariously housed homeless?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But they would have to be on the CES list, correct?
They do. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. But some are, Donna. So that's a great question. So
Just wondering
Tanya,
if out here in the Coachella Valley, if our school districts are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Donna. Tanya, you had a comment?
Yeah, and really just a comment. I wanted to recognize the partnership with the Housing Authority. When the vouchers first came out, I received a call from Imperial County asking for just an overview of what we were already in the process of developing. And in the midst of that, right, just received a lot of praise because again, it's easier for us. I know it's not an easy lift, and Cindy Huey can attest to this, but it's easier for us, I think, on a local level to implement this program because the CoC, our homeless providers have had such a strong relationship with our Housing Authority that has really been strengthened over the last couple of years. The Housing Authority has been supporting referrals through the coordinated entry system. Of course, as Section 8 vouchers become available. So I just share that to say that we are in a good spot to, carry this program moving forward. If we recall as well, especially when we launched our effort to end veteran homelessness, the Housing Authority had a preference for veterans, currently has a preference for seniors who are homeless or at risk of homelessness and are referred through adult services. So again, it just really demonstrates and speaks to the mission of the Housing Authority to really expand its reach to vulnerable populations, which include the population that we serve. So Cindy, I just wanted to commend you and your team over there for really working with our CoC and making it to our meeting today to ensure that we allow for feedback to further our collaboration.
Good point. Michelle Davis.
First off, I just want to thank you for identifying this as a moving on initiative for the PSH units, because we do have several. I know Nicole Daly with Lake Elsinore brought it up in a previous Continuum of Care meeting where we have folks that have been in these programs for 10 to 15 years and there's no incentive to move them on. And so this provides them the perfect opportunity where some residents and clients no longer need case management. This will allow them to graduate and then free up these PSH units for individuals that have been waiting on the by name list that do need intense case management. So I applaud you, and City of Riverside's committed to anybody that does move on from our program, we'll still provide them with 6 months of case management to ensure that when they move on, they are able to transition, and we're there to help them.
Great points, Michelle. Thank you. I have a question. There isn't an age limit on this? It's just specifically they have to be on CES, but it's not 65 and over?
No.
That's correct.
Okay.
There's no age limit.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? This is just an informational item, correct, Tanya?
That is correct. Yes.
This is very good news. So have we had any indication, do you know, I know our HOPWA waiting list is quite extensive too. Has there been any indication from the federal government about additional HOPWA vouchers at all?
Good question. I should know this, having administered HOPWA previously. But you know what? I think it's something, Greg, that we can research, and then perhaps for like our July meeting during item 6F, the housing resource update, we can absolutely share.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Tanya. Appreciate that. All right, seeing no further questions or comments, we will move on to item, and thanks, Cindy, again, for joining us today. Item 4C. Oh, actually 4C was a 21 homeless sheltered point in time count. We actually are not going to discuss that today. We decided to do a separate working meeting for that. So we'll report back on that, probably any progress in July meeting. So on to item 5, new business. We have the CoC funded program fiscal reports, and I believe Brandon is going to lead this discussion.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Brandon Traha. I am the Administrative Services Supervisor in charge of our CoC fiscal team. And from a fiscal standpoint, we have definitely been making a lot of positive changes over the past year. It's amazing how this year has flown by. And, you know, similar as I discussed in the BOG meeting last week, we're really focusing so much on working with our subrecipients on really taking a closer look at the grants, the claims that we're receiving, and the patterns that we're seeing to figure out how we can help our subrecipients and how we can work with our programs team to make our projects better, to increase our spending and to focus the spending on those items that really will be of the most impact, and really to use our full grants to their fullest potential. So the first thing that I would like to focus on is our Heap Grant. And let me go ahead and show that here real quick. So we have We have been doing very well on our Heap Grant. As you can see, we have some projects that have already completed. Those are the ones highlighted in green. And this past week at the BOG meeting, there was some reprogramming to our capital projects contracts. And the reason for that is because our facilities management, the county department that's working on our Path of Life rehab, they actually underspent. And so that money was given over to the Path of Life and Valley Restart for their capital improvement projects. And just to give you a summary over here of where we were and where we are, with our actual HEAP spending, we were not in a very good place at the beginning of July when we started the transition to the new department. When I came aboard, when we had a lot of new staff come aboard on the program side, it was already about 2 years into a 3-year grant, and we had only spent 27% of this grant. And over the past year, we have managed to make it up to 81%. And the reason why it's still at 81% instead of up to 100 is because there's going to be a month or two delay for getting all of the claims in. So we have been working tirelessly with our subrecipients to make sure that we know where they're at, to make sure that they're going to be spending their funds, that they are spending their funds, and any assistance that we can provide them, definitely we're doing that as well. And you can also see it showing in the projected HEAP spending as well, because these projections are based off of the current spending trends. So it's the mathematical formulas here. So in July, the situation was looking very dire. And then we quickly, we all joined forces here at the CoC, working with our subrecipients, and brought that all the way up to 97.2%. And again, this is based off of mathematical averages. Really, we are very confident based off of our work with our subrecipients, our work with our partners, that's many of you included, that we will reach 100% every cent spent. And I'd also like to focus on one more here, and that is our 2019 HUD grants as well, because I know that's always a hot topic, especially with the 2021 NOFA coming into play. Sorry, please forgive my technical difficulties. So here, as you can see, I have been working over the past few months on this report to make it a little more clear. So our green is projects that have finished. They've spent 100%, so great job to those projects. We have some highlighted in yellow here that are within 5% unspent, so relatively minor amounts. That's going to be as far as the projections go. And then our ones highlighted in red are going to need a little bit more assistance here. Those are greater than 5%. We've got a couple 7%. And our Path of Life Rapid Rehousing, unfortunately, is the big one due to some challenges that they have had. So overall, the picture is looking very good. Based off of these averages, it looks like we're only going to leave about $275,000 on the table. That's about 2.68%. And these are based on projections, so that number is always changing. But what I've noticed over the past few months, and I'm sure y'all have noticed as well, is that projection keeps going down because those subrecipients who are underspending, we've really been working with them. My great fiscal team has been working with them, our great programs team, to get them the help they need, to give them ideas, whatever assistance we can provide to make sure that things are on the right track. So I am very, very confident and very happy about the performance that we've been doing so far on HUD and HEAP. And I definitely want to thank all of our CoC staff and all of our great partners.
Thank you very much, Brandon. This is incredible. I mean, I remember when we were 8%, and to have a projection like this, the 2 points, absolutely amazing. I know too, a lot of us on this call that have, for a few years now, have talked about technical assistance and helping the subrecipients spend. And so I know your team has just been incredible about doing that. Also, too, the flexibility we've had, not necessarily in the HUD funding, of course, but especially with HEAT, in the ability to reallocate when we know that a program is not going to be able to spend down. That flexibility has proven really successful, not only in propping up functioning programs, but additionally helping in that spend down amount. So, and I know staff is looking at ways to do that throughout all of our allocations coming forward. I would just highlight too on the rapid rehousing. I just don't want to throw PATH under the bus, because we know that even on I believe it was Jewish Family Services as well, as the rapid rehousing is just a challenging thing because of the lack of supply of and units. And so, and we know that's been the case for a number of years. So, Tanya, did you have something else to add?
And Greg, you took the words out of my mouth, but just that, right? Just to be clear, continuums of care across the board are having challenges with rapid rehousing. We've spoken to that as a result of COVID, unemployment has gone down. But I think right through the feedback that we've received from the continuum of care, because of that challenge, I think this is perfect timing, because we can share how, right, as soon as the emergency housing vouchers came out, it was very easy for us to work together to make a recommendation to say, hey, we need to create a path so that individuals who are receiving rapid rehousing assistance can be bridged to a affordable housing voucher, so they can receive that long-term assistance or that longer-term assistance, but also the biggest piece, what we're seeing as a system challenge as a whole, housing inventory is low, and it's hard. I remember being a case manager and trying to convince a landlord, take a risk on my zero income client. I'm going to work with them and in 12 months, get them back on their feet, get a job. Like, it's really hard to make that sell under this climate. And I can't even imagine, right, 6 months ago when our HUD CoC rapid rehousing projects were starting on, and landlords were probably like scratching their heads like, you're gonna what? So again, I just know that these ideas, I think I heard Brandon say that our team is great 2 times. I don't want to underestimate. I think we have a good team, but we have great partnerships as well. And so I thank you guys for bringing those conversations, being vulnerable, being transparent, because I know it can be uncomfortable, but with those hard conversations, right, we can make recommendations like the moving on vouchers under the Housing Authority's EHV program that I think at the end of the day will prove some good results. So we thank you, and we cannot emphasize enough that you're going to hear me say this over and over again, but we're in this together. It's our success as a whole that matters.
Tanya, just along those lines, can I ask a question? Forgive me, I'm not remembering this for rules for vouchers, but clearly shared housing is a way to kick the door open for affordable housing placement. So we've started doing that in the city of Corona. Can you remind me, it seems to me that there are some provisions that allow for that with the voucher in a shared housing environment. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely. And if Cindy Huey is still on, I'll pave the way for her. But if she's not, I'm happy to answer it. Let me just look quickly. Cindy, are you still on?
I'm still here.
Yeah,
So
do you want to speak to shared housing? Go ahead.
Yeah, so as far as shared housing, we have it as a reasonable accommodation. So if there is a person with disability where shared housing would better accommodate their disability, we certainly will process that as a shared housing opportunity for them. For regular families that are not disabled, unfortunately, shared housing isn't one of the options available.
So any of the special needs, not just physical disabilities, but mental health issues or substance abuse issues, the normal term for disabilities?
Well, we have a certification of disability that we'll mail out to the provider to have the provider answer which of the HUD definition they meet for disability. And if the medical professional writes back that they are disabled, then we categorize the file as a disabled person.
Thank you so much.
Great question. So, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, thank you, Brandon. Again, thank you to your team as well for this. So,
Thank you.
all right, moving on to item number 5B, the Riverside County Workforce Development, the Community Career Coaching Program. Yvonne.
Good morning, everyone. Yvonne Villalobos, Assistant Regional Manager at the Indio Workforce Development Center. And kind of going off of Tanya's just comments about partnering, we're here in Workforce are definitely here to also partner. Our centers have been open throughout this majority of the pandemic time. And for individuals who are not ready to go out yet, we have been providing virtual services as well. So we do have career coaches, and for individuals who are ready to get out there, maybe because of the pandemic, can't go back into the jobs that they were doing. We do have some short-term trainings that we can work on. But today I'm going to talk about two programs that kind of started or initiated through this last year. And I didn't send my PowerPoint ahead of time. Can I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, Yvonne, please do.
So I'm going to be discussing this grant that we received for the Communities Helping Communities Community Career Coach. And as I mentioned, this was kind of brought out during the pandemic when people were maybe not wanting to go out to facilities. It's set up for individuals who maybe have already worked on their resume and are going to maybe help individuals in their community, their neighborhood, family members. So I think this is a good connection with all the different housing outlets that we have here. If there's somebody, if you have like a work center there or a facility where individuals can utilize the computers, and somebody's great at communicating and working on resumes. Oh, you don't see my presentation? Okay. Let me see. It's not sharing?
No, it's not.
Melanie, do you know if maybe we can give access to Yvonne?
Because I am able to.
I was just going to say, I was looking for it, but if you can send it to CoC at Rivco right now, I can put it up.
Okay.
What we could do, maybe a suggestion, I hate to take us out of order, but we do have Stefan here who might be ready to go. Greg, if we want to switch the order. But Yvonne, if you're ready to start, then I don't want to do that. I was just trying to buy you some time.
I just sent it, so if that can be pulled out.
Let's give a minute, Tanya, and then if Melanie can get it up, we'll.
I apologize.
No problem. There we go.
Thank you. So we can go to the next room. So this was, as I mentioned, so all these different facilities that you have, if you have a work area that maybe somebody's has some experience doing a resume and there's other community members there that they can assist, this is a program that we could work with them on. So we will, individuals who are interested in the Career Coach program will receive a training. We do different workshops here at the center. So we're using some of those workshops to connect with the community career coach. They will have access to all of our different resources that we have here. We have a Rivco job board. We use Cal Jobs, Own It. We have a lot of different resources that we will share with this community career coach. Of course, we will have one of our career coaches to be kind of like their liaison. If they have any questions as they're outreaching to the community, they'll have access to the career coach. For every 5 community members that they assist, they will receive a $250 stipend, and they can receive more than one stipend. So say I have 5 friends that I've worked with, and I have to turn in their resume, so there's a little bit items that you turn in, just their resume information of who you've been helping. And then you have 5 people from your neighborhood that you help. You can receive $250 each, 5 individuals. It is a grant, so it is a short term. We've had different inquiries of individuals who want to do this as some kind of employment. It's not an employment, it's a stipend to help community members in your area. Next slide. So the community career coach will help individuals to build the resume, and as I mentioned, we'll give them the resources that they may need, that we can help them. They will help them conduct a job search, complete applications, or guide them to different applications, job openings that we have, and referrals to other resources. So if they find that they're working with somebody that maybe needs something else, we will work with them to make sure they are able to be referred to other resources. And to become a community career coach, it is not, this program, as I mentioned, is a grant. It is not a WIOA program, so we don't have that eligibility. We just have a 1-page application. Submit a copy of their current resume, make sure that they have proficient skills and access to computer, internet. And again, this was initially came out during the time when people were staying home. They weren't really going out to the public. So it was meant for neighbors helping neighbors to have access. And so we are still implementing, we still have funding available to individuals. So I think this is a great connection. Next slide. And so we have contacts at each of our centers. So Maribel Pimentel is our career coach here at the Indio Workforce Development Center. And then we have Stephanie Macias, who is the contact at our Riverside. And I noticed that on the Google Docs, there is a flyer that has Stephanie's information. And I can also forward to the group the actual applications. Like I said, it's just a one-page application. And it's just to get the word out. And then as we see people, if we notice that they need a little bit more than this community career coach, we will, of course, provide our services, share our services, and maybe can bring them on to our center and to see how we can help them as through the community career coach program, through workforce development as well. And so that's just general information about this grant. If there are any questions, and I do have we just recently received funding for a homeless veteran program that I also have information on that I'm happy to share. So the Homeless Veteran Support Program is designed to provide support to homeless veterans in Riverside County who have barriers to employment. And the barriers are like basic needs items that are preventing them to get to work. Next slide. And so the types of the support we can assist with is food, utility, transportation, short-term housing. We don't have, as I mentioned, this is a small grant. We can help maybe pay a month's rent until they start getting regular checks, any workforce-related expenses. And their eligibility is very simple as well. We have a, next slide. Just a 1-page application. We're just checking to make sure they're a Riverside County resident. Homeless, we're just taking their self-certification unless they are at a facility. We are asking for verification of veteran status and that the need is employment related. So if somebody, like I said, needs to purchase an item to get started at that job, we can purchase that item. If they need assistance in paying that first month rent until they get going, we can purchase that item. So this particular one is specific to homeless veterans. And the career coach, that is anybody out in the community that just seems to work well with others, network, and can kind of gain a stipend for themselves. Okay. And then for the homeless veteran program, we have Anaí Fernandez, and she's a career coach at the Indio office. So our Indio office is facilitating this particular grant for the Riverside County. And I can forward that this is fairly new, so I don't have, we are working on a flyer, and I will get that flyer out to the group as soon as it's complete. Thank you. And if there's any questions. about the different two programs or anything workforce centers. We have, as a workforce development center, we have one in Indio, we have one Riverside, Hammond, and we also have a site in Moreno Valley now as well. And we cover Blythe as well.
Thank you, Yvonne, very much. I think we all know the critical role workforce development is going to play as we move forward in homelessness and housing services. So these are great programs. Any questions or comments for Yvonne? All right, seeing none, thanks again, Yvonne, appreciate that. Moving on to item 6, standing items. Item A is the Board of Governance update. We, at the last Board of Governance meeting, many of you on the call were on that as well, but we discussed our strategic planning and action planning update with LaSar Consulting Groups, and they presented us with the draft gaps analysis report. And I believe we've got Stefan on from LaSar, who's going to go through a quick PowerPoint update on that.
Great. Thanks, Greg. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I have success with that. Hold on one second.
And your volume's a little low, Stefan, so.
Okay. You hear me a little bit better now?
That's much better, yeah.
Okay. All right. Can everyone see that all right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So just to kind of provide a little bit of background, so LaSar Development Consultants was contracted by the County of Riverside to complete a performance assessment and gaps analysis for the CoC. And again, this will lead towards our strategic action plan. So for the purposes of this discussion, just going to kind of take a high level overview of some of our findings. And then Greg, I'll see if we have time for Q&A. Hopefully we do. So just to quickly kind of start off by providing an overview of how we got here and looking at our methodology. So we've conducted a kind of mixed method analysis, both qualitative and quantitative methods. For the qualitative section, we sent out a 38-question survey to the BOG and the CoC distribution lists. And then we also conducted numerous interviews with key stakeholders, many that are on this call here today. For the quantitative section, we asked or reached out to the county's HMIS group for data on program level performance for emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, transitional housing, permanent supportive housing, street outreach and prevention projects. And then we loaded that into the National Alliance to End Homelessness. They have a system evaluator tool. And then additionally, we also took a kind of holistic view of the system and looked at other data sources like the point in time count.
Stefan, I think we lost you. Stefan, you're frozen.
He is frozen, Greg. Perhaps I can try to reach out to him on the side. Okay.
Yeah.
And then perhaps we can bring him back once he.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you do that? So
Perfect.
I'll just bring up to further BOG update. One of the other big items of discussion was our reallocation procedures, and the Board of Governance approved allowing CoC staff, primarily under the direction of the department, HHPWS, that for allocations that can be reallocated to similar like programs that are already program approved and meet the funding guidelines of the Board of Governance, that we are going to allow staff to do those up to $250,000 or 30% of total budget. The thinking about this, again, this gets back to the flexibility and the ability to make sure that we're utilizing funds and not having to get bogged down in processes of approvals and further delays on that. So and that was a unanimous vote on the Board of Governance. So with that, while we wait to get Stefan back, we'll go to item B, the COVID-19 vaccination and coordination effort. Josh, are you on the line? I don't think Josh.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'll provide a brief update for our COVID-19 vaccination and coordination effort. As you all may know, we started an initiative here at the CoC to try to connect our unsheltered residents and also sheltered homeless individuals with the COVID-19 vaccine, which can often be difficult for these individuals who don't have access to resources, information. And we also noticed that there was a need within our homeless service provider community asking for resources so that they could vaccinate the individuals that they serve. Here are several events that we coordinated and conducted in the past, some of them at congregate shelters such as Martha's Village and CBRM, others at resource fairs and events, local faith-based organizations. I believe that since our previous CoC meeting, we have had one mobile vaccine clinic at the City of Riverside Access Center. Hafsa, thank you so much. Not sure if you're here today. I think she's on vacation, well deserved. But we were able to administer 22 vaccines. That's 22 individuals who are vaccinated that weren't previously. So it's a success to me. We do have 2 events planned in the future. One in Hemet Valley Restart Shelter and the other at St. Kateri's Church in Banning, thanks to Faith and Action of the San Gorgonio Pass. I actually received some communication from our County Emergency Management Department, who has been facilitating and providing the resources for the mobile vaccination clinics. So we're going to be entering the next planning step in this process for both events. More information to come. Natalis and I provide updates to this on Monday's shelter call as well. And I'll be sending emails out from the CoC email if we have any important updates regarding these events. I also wanted to promote another vaccine clinic. This was, I wish I could take credit for this, but this is a COVID-19 vaccine clinic. They have a lot of incentives. It's in Harupa Valley this Saturday, June 26th. It seems like it's going to be very successful. I can't wait to see the turnout for this. Again, this wasn't something that I personally coordinated or we at the CoC coordinated. So information that I have available is limited, but there is a phone number on there for registration and a QR code that you can scan.
And hi, Joshua. This is Brad West with the Office of Assemblymember Cervantes. So I'm on the call if anybody has any questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Much appreciated. Hope you don't mind me promoting the event a little bit.
Not at all. Thank you so much.
Of course. And does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Josh? Or for Brad? Oh, see, all right. Great work, Josh. Thanks. Appreciate that. So, and a big shout out to some of our shelter operators and other providers who are also doing their own vaccination programs. So, all right, moving on to, and I don't know, yeah, Tanya's here. So, Tanya, did we get Stefan back yet? Or?
He is not back yet. I'm still trying to work on connecting with him. So I'm happy to jump into this item and give an update on our program. So good morning, everyone. Again, Tanya Torno, Continuum of Care Deputy Director. Lots of updates. I know in many ways, when I talk to our team, it feels like we're moving at the speed of light, but I know that you guys are very much, there with us, keeping up with the pace. And sometimes it feels like we're trying to keep up with you because you guys are doing such great work. But I did want to share that we are looking at expanding our administrative capacity within the continuum of care. As our budgets demonstrate, over the last year, we have almost tripled in our budget with a lot of this one-time state funding that we have received through various sources, HAP, CASH, and ESG as well. There were specific allocations, right, that came through CARES. And of course, some of that makes it challenging to bring on permanent staff. So what you will see in the next couple of weeks, thinking 8 to 12 weeks, is that we have embarked in a large recruitment effort to recruit temporary staff that will be supporting our various units, fiscal programs, as well as contracts, and of course, HMIS. I think my pitch here at the CoC is, if there is anyone who is really interested in getting some experience in homeless services, and of course more on the administration planning side, we would love to know who those folks are. So feel free to connect with us, send your referrals our way. The other recruitment we have, which is a permanent one, is for an administrative services manager. This is a new position that we are adding, and will be a manager that will be directly supporting our planning and data team. So really, the way I envision this person is someone that can really work with us on the second phase of our homeless strategic action plan, and ensure that we're working towards, meeting metrics that we are in the process of developing with you. And when Stefan joins on here, he'll speak to that sort of second phase. But right, it would be nice to be able to check off and mark our progress towards each of those metrics. So that position is, again, a permanent one. We'll probably be starting the recruitment in the next 3 weeks. So if there is anyone of interest, again, please send them our way. We are very interested in getting someone who is talented, but also shares the same heart that each of you have. The next news is in regards to our efforts to end youth homelessness. Just a reminder to folks that tomorrow we have 2 meetings. The Youth Advisory Council will be meeting, and the primary focus for the next couple of weeks for a lot of us is the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program, or YHDP, which provides funding to continuums of care to embark on community planning efforts to really enhance our homeless delivery system to better serve youth. And with that, at 4:30 to 5:30 tomorrow, we'll be meeting with our Youth Action Board. So Monique Guerra, Youth Specialist Coordinator on our team, has successfully recruited 6 youth with lived experience who will be meeting tomorrow to really begin to grow that group and become the voice, the face for youth experiencing homelessness in Riverside County. So we'll have more updates on those efforts during the next meeting. The other sort of quick news here I'll share, because it is big news, and we've been in touch with many of you on the call in regards to the Emergency Solutions Grant, Coronavirus Round 1 and Round 2 funding. We have finalized our funding recommendations. And believe it or not, next Tuesday, we'll be going to the Board of Supervisors requesting approval to allocate more than $32 million in funding to carry out direct street outreach, emergency shelter, rental assistance, as well as HMIS and CES and other administrative functions for the next year. So we have a very aggressive deadline. You heard me right. We have 1 year to spend it. But how thrilling that we get to pilot a lot of these programs and work together to aggressively, assist a lot of people to housing. So With that, we are trying to move through a very aggressive execution of contracts process. By the end of today, agencies that we have recommended for funding will be receiving a draft copy of the contract. Our ask to you is to provide us with your edits, revisions by Friday. I realize this is a tight deadline, but if you can get those to us by Friday or over the weekend, right? Like slip it in Sunday night, we'll take it. Our goal is between Monday and Tuesday to finalize those agreements. And once the board approves it, right, Wednesday, send them your way for final execution. I think that I might have hit everything. I know that's a lot, so I'll stop there and see if anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Tanya. Any questions for Tanya? I really appreciate the effort for the quick turnaround in contracting, Tanya. I mean, that's I think everybody on this call does actually.
Absolutely.
So, it's fantastic. Oh, right, seeing no questions, and it's amazing the pot of money. I mean, just figure it's only been like 3 years ago. We only got to have $9 million, basically. so incredible.
Yeah, and Greg, if I could add to ESGCV, once the funding recommendations are approved, so like in July, we will plan, of course, with the blessing of our chairs, to bring you an update on the agencies that are funded, and work with you to develop like an implementation plan. It's very much a partnership. Again, these programs are very much in place to support our existing homeless delivery system. So we'll work together on that.
Sounds good. And yeah, I'm lucky enough, since I work for a supervisor, that I've been able to see the recommended allocations, and everyone will be extremely pleased with the allocations. So it's really going to be it's really a game changer in the county. So
we all need to raise the roof, man. This is exciting.
Exactly. So do we have Stefan back yet?
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I felt like I was going through my slides, and then I realized I'm not even on the call anymore. Yes, I am back. I don't know where I got knocked off.
Stefan, yeah, basically you cut off right after methodology.
Gotcha. Okay, let me try to get back my slides. I really apologize about that. I was going through everything. All right, let me try one more time. Let me see. Am I sharing my screen yet?
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, not now.
Okay. Apologize about the technical difficulties. Let me try one more time. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, and I've gone through methodology. All right, so let's get to the gaps of the homeless system. And so the purposes of this discussion, just going to do a high level overview of the gaps. We separated into system challenges and housing challenges. So for these system challenges, one of the common themes that came up in discussions and stakeholder feedback was around regionalization. And so 78% of the respondents to the survey reported some degree of disunity in the approach to ending homelessness across the region. And this was also reflected in some of the feedback that we received, again, in those discussions from key stakeholders. And so this was characterized by somewhat differing approaches to addressing homelessness and disconnected services. And I think the most notable kind of example of this is in the differing approaches or perceptions of the approaches to engagement or outreach and engagement. In certain parts of the county, kind of leaned more towards an enforcement approach, and in other parts of the county, more towards an engagement approach. And really, this regionalization is characterized by resources being geographically siloed, with certain regions having critically underdeveloped resources in outreach and shelter and housing supports. And so this difficult to navigate, or sorry, this system really creates a difficult to navigate experience for people experiencing homelessness, the clients that that we're serving, as this differing approaches creates inconsistent access to the uniformity of approaches across the region. Next, kind of looking at data infrastructure, integration, and management. This was a common theme that came up. And so currently CES and HMIS are not fully integrated. And I know that steps are currently being taken by the system to kind of further increase the data capacity. But currently right now it's not fully evolved. There's also inconsistent utilization of HMIS, which often leads to duplicative intake processes and providers having to triangulate services. Let's say if a client was working with a program that was not connected in HMIS, then having to do that background research of what services that client might have received. We also noted that there's a lack of real-time access to public-facing dashboards. And then also something that we highlighted was, as the CoC and the county are really having the critical discussions around equity and race equity, it really highlights the need to further increase the data capacity of the region, and really disaggregating data is going to be integral to furthering those equity efforts. And so while the CES system, the coordinated entry system, is functional right now, many of the functions of CES are manually administered and will need to be further digitized in the future. So next, we also looked at the service provider capacity as a system challenge, and we found that there's really an inequitable distribution of services across the county. And so in communities that have underinvested in provider networks and infrastructure or system capacity, it produces an inequitable burden on communities in the larger region that have already made those investments. Something else that we highlighted in terms of service provider capacity was some of the staffing challenges that providers face. And this is kind of twofold: increased, the increased amount of programs and funding, having to hire up for those, but also the staff turnover. And this is really consistent with many neighboring CoCs, some of those staffing challenges. And then lastly, around system flow, we noticed that the entries have outpaced the exits. And so over the past 4 years, the Riverside system has had a net gain of persons in the homeless system, and addressing this imbalance will require a strong focus and continued efforts in prevention and upstream solutions. So next, looking at the housing challenges. So as has been discussed kind of already on this call, there really is a shortage of affordable housing, and stakeholders and survey respondents really highlighted this as a core driver to the county's homelessness crisis. And so in our assessment, we conducted a housing needs analysis, and based on that analysis, Riverside County would need an additional 21,000 upwards to 46,000 homes affordable to an extremely low-income households or population. And so this range really is contingent on whether the entire Southern California SCAG region meets its overall housing needs. And so optimistically, if the entire SCAG region produces enough affordable housing based on the RENA allocations and assessments, Riverside County would need about 21,000 homes. And if the SCAG region does not, produce the number of housings that's allocated to them, then that number would increase to 46,000. So additionally, we saw that while, rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing were effective interventions. I know we talked about some of the challenges with rapid rehousing earlier on this call. These interventions just really need to be scaled up, and also additional supports need to be provided to make sure that they're even more effective. And so that kind of leads to housing outreach and supports. we noted that there is a lack of a unified landlord outreach, engagement, and retention strategy, which often creates unnecessary competition and differing outcomes based on, among service providers. And it sounds like the landlord incentive program is a meaningful step to address that gap. Another thing that we noted was when moving into housing, providers often had to juggle between different funding sources to pay for move-in costs and other miscellaneous expenses. And then even when connected to services, stakeholders highlighted, the unavailability of affordable housing, but also some of the barriers associated to rental applications like credit, documentation, criminal background, evictions as other key impediments. So we also wanted to highlight just a couple key subpopulations that needed additional focus. The first is transition-aged youth. So it's interesting to note that the number of youth served in emergency shelter or street outreach has decreased since 2017, while at the same time, the overall point-in-time count numbers have actually increased during that period. And so there really appears to be a disconnect between the decreases in program participation and the increases in the point-in-time count. And so I know the county has recently hired a homeless youth coordinator that really can be tasked to further understanding this disconnect in the numbers. Next, we wanted to highlight older adults or seniors, and this really stems from the previous slide around affordable housing. If older adults or seniors, many of whom are on fixed income, if they are on that fixed income, there really is just a lack of affordable housing under $1,000 a month. And so that kind of leads again to further interventions that might help address that need. And then lastly, we noted, in interviews with stakeholders, survey respondents, just the need to increase and expand resources for individuals with severe mental illness and substance use disorders. So I wanted to highlight some of the strengths of the homeless response system as well, really briefly. So firstly, the creation and the consolidation of the new department has really begun to provide the necessary leadership and structure to coalesce these fragmented approaches into more unified framework to uphold community-wide standards. The consolidated department is really now better positioned to address some of these other system challenges like cross-sector alignment, data integration and management, and service provider capacity. It's not on this slide as well, but also we noted the strong response to the COVID-19 pandemic and how the county and its partners were really able to mobilize resources, to address the urgent crisis. And I think a lot of the feedback that we heard from stakeholders is they would like to capitalize on some of that momentum. And then we also wanted to just quickly highlight one program that that was really showing a good performance in its outcomes, in the target population, and that's the homeless prevention programs. And again, as the county tries or attempts to try to stem the inflows into homelessness, the expansion of these types of programs are really going to be necessary to ending the crisis. And then lastly, just some overall impressions. So Riverside CoC has made really significant progress, in addressing system and client needs. And as we first started this work, as LEC first started this work, we thought the regional differences might be so stark that it required 180-degree shift. But in reality, while there are some variations in approaches, we found that it was often about increasing capacity and maybe requiring a slight shift in orientation. And then when looking at the performance of the system itself, it really falls in line with neighboring COCs like LA or San Diego. And in the metrics, it actually outperforms those neighboring COCs. And so obviously there's still a lot of work to be done, but with the formation of the new department and considerable new funding coming in, I think there's really significant momentum to address homelessness within the County of Riverside. So with that, I know with all those technical difficulties, I might be over with time. Let me make sure I'm stopped sharing, and I'll pass it over if there are questions.
Great, thank you, Stefan. Fantastic presentation. So, any questions for Stefan or comments? I know a lot of you saw this at the Board of Governance, but we wanted to make sure those that weren't on wanted to see it. So, I'm just going to add, and even Mitch and Stefan noticed this on a couple of calls we've had, is that a lot of this analysis was done right before the formation of the new department, and I think too, you can see just in the conversation today, again, with the hiring of the youth coordinators, that a lot of the gaps, the department is already looking at how we address those. And so definitely looking forward to the strategic action plan that's going to address more of those. But I think we are on the right track and we'll beat the other surrounding COCs sooner than later. So I see Donna, Craig, question.
Yes, that was great, Stefan. Thank you very much. When you mentioned the Riverside overall needs between 21,000 to maybe 46,000 homes, is that mapped out?
We haven't actually mapped it out geographically where those need to be placed. I think it is something that we will look at, especially looking at some of the needs within that for permanent supportive housing, et cetera. The 21,000 is basically the RENA allocation. The 46,000 is kind of taking a different methodology to reach that number, but it's assuming that the other regions, like I mentioned in the presentation, do not meet their housing needs.
I just wondering because, as Greg knows, being on the board of Lift to Rise, that they have a 10-year goal of adding an additional 10,000 affordable housing units to the Coachella Valley in 10 years.
Yeah, it's like go ahead, Donna.
No, I'm done.
Okay, it's like I told Stefan at the Board of Governance meeting, is the number is more like 46,000. It's not going to be 23,000 because places like Orange County are not going to meet their RENA numbers. So, yeah, and technically, Donna, it's kind of mapped because each city, as you know, and unincorporated areas in the counties have their RENA allocations. So in a sense, the number is mapped out. But as you know, in the work we're doing out here, and this is true countywide, the need is going to be far greater than what the estimates are. So.
Right.
Tanya, comment.
Thank you.
Donna's comments are sparking, I feel like, ideas in me. So thank you, Donna. But I just wanted to share that our department, and again, the credit here, Mike Walsh can't be here, but he is really at least in our department, the expert when it comes to building affordable housing. But we have started to map out the number of affordable housing units that are being developed in each supervisory district. Also, sort of the next step, beginning to map out how much more do we need to sort of mirror what has been done and led in District 4, which Greg just spoke about. So an idea for a future meeting, I'm probably already filling up July, but maybe for August or September, could be for us to have a presentation where we begin to look at that, because to Stefan's point, that will really be part of phase. I don't even know what phase we're in. I keep saying phase 2, but the development of our homeless strategic action plan, looking at how many more affordable housing units, permanent supportive housing units do we need. So it'll be really good to look at, what is the housing authority? What is behavioral health? What do, our development partners already have underway, so that, we can really demonstrate where new investments need to go. So good stuff. Thank you, Donna, for bringing that up.
Yeah, and Tanya, can we put a note to do that in September? I think September would be good because we're going to have a better idea of home key Round two, we'll also know a little more details on the governor's budget and what amount of that 12.2 billion line item in housing and homelessness is going to go. So I think it'd be a great topic for September. So,
Good idea, Greg.
any other questions or comments for Stefan? Thanks again, Stefan, for jumping on. I know we got a little late notice for you, and we'll forgive you on the technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, I apologize about that. Yeah.
I'm totally teasing you. Don't worry about it. So thanks again. And we look forward to the next step. Just so everybody knows, I think we're anticipating kind of a roughly final draft of the action plan, at least in August, correct? And, yeah.
That is the date, August 2nd, the day after my birthday.
Sounds good.
So everybody knows, for the record.
Yeah. Hint, hint on you. Huh?
Tanya's birthday. I'm gonna put it on our calendar.
There you go. All right. Thanks again, Stefan. You don't have to stay on if you don't need to. So, all right. And then obviously, you know, there was some conversation in Stefan's report about the CES, and I know, again the department has been making. Somebody needs to mute because I'm getting echoed. There we go. The department and under the leadership too of Marcus and his department have really made some transformative steps on the integration. So with that, Marcus, I'm handing it off to you.
And I want to comment on this.
Was there another comment there?
No, I think Kimberly from CVRM, I think you were off mute. Yeah.
There we go. Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Marcus Cannon, RUHS Behavioral Health. It is Spirit Week at RUHS this week, and each day is a different theme. I'll let you guess what today's theme is. We just wanted to give you a brief update. I know that this has been a packed agenda thus far. Our standard data is included in the staff report, and we may have that slide up for you, but I know that typically that's an item people want to review on their own time, a lot of columns and a lot of rows. Yes, this one, thank you. We are continuing to track the length of time from referral until providers are able to make contact with clients. I say we because we're the one that collects the data, but it really is, of course, you as providers that are tracking that and giving that data back to us. So we appreciate your cooperation in tracking that time. If you have feedback about that process, we'd love to hear it here, offline, by email, whatever works. What I really want to call your attention to is not so much this slide, but just a number of updates. Morella is on the line with us as well. Most of you have met her virtually, of course. She's our new CES coordinator. So she'll help me out with a couple of these things, but first and foremost, we just wanted to reiterate that we're in support of the county and the CoC's YHDP application. And so however we can assist HHPWS and Yak and Yab and the whole team there, we will. We do have some data metrics already that we're working on gathering as part of that. There's upcoming outreach events in Temecula, an ongoing effort in the Santa Ana River Bottom, an effort tomorrow in the city of Riverside, as well as some upcoming events in the Coachella Valley that we're assisting and supporting with. So please don't be surprised if you get a call from Morale or someone on the team as we're trying to bring people in to make sure we have all the partners that we need for all those events. As you know, we've done training during this COVID period on the VI SPDAT, a mix of two ways. One, doing some sort of live virtual events, so to speak, as well as sending out emails with a link to a video that can be watched for VI SPDAT training. The video that we used was one that was publicly available. However, now that we've changed to Clarity and gone to a new VI SPDAT version, we're working on recording one that's local here to our community. And so as soon as we have that done, we'll share that out so that people can have one that really is focused on specifics with our community. And then that brings us last but not least to HMIS. That I would say is our biggest focus right now, is getting HMIS fully functional for coordinated entry. Morel is working closely with Gordon from HHPWS on that effort. The VI SPDAT feature is live, so you can go and enter VI SPDAT. And Morel, I think you told me you had a couple shout outs you wanted to give of the first 3 or 4 staff that have entered VI SPDATs directly into CES and HMIS?
I do. I want to give a special shout out to Sandra Carizales and Julie Hernandez with Martha's Village and Kitchen, as well as Jennifer Fowler with Path of Life, who have entered their first clients into Clarity.
So thank you, Martha's. Thank you. Path of Life, was that the second one?
Yes.
Excellent. So yeah, thank you to Martha's staff. Thank you to Path of Life staff. For the rest of you, this is sort of that friendly reminder that it is live. You can now go and create new clients directly in the CES project. You can enter their VI SPDATs. What we want, of course, is to get all of our processes completely into HMIS so that we're not doing anything in an Excel or a separate database, and that all CES action happens directly there through HMIS. Morel, do you have any other instructions or requests or updates for the community as it relates to HMIS?
Not at this time.
All right. That really, those are the highlights of what's new, but that's the biggest piece is the HMIS piece. I do think even as we're learning to use it, I hope all of you are in there in Clarity using the new reporting features and testing out the reports and testing out the features. I feel like every day we learn something new, and one nice thing about Clarity is that for each of the reports that's in there, there's a link that you can click on that will take you to the Clarity website where they provide more information about that report, who can use it, what it's for, kind of the tips and tricks. So we've definitely been using that. But as you learn things and or discover bugs or discover things that aren't working, please make sure that you let the HMIS support team know and that you let us know so that we can problem solve that for you. Are there any questions for us here at Home Connect?
I think Kimberly McKinney has one.
Hi, Marcus.
Hey, Kim.
I know we're sort of in a transitionary period, but we're at the year end. June 30th is our year end. Mm-hmm. And it's our staff person that does the statistics for my reporting to the cities and governments is unable to get the reports. They're not built in Clarity. And I know that they're probably being built, but she's not getting responses back. We've sending screenshots of what we need to be able to report to our other agencies, our funding agencies, and nothing comes back to her. So she's really sort of frustrated. She's we can't get a simple thing like when we put somebody into the system, where did they come from, right? So my statistics say what city they come from, what state they came from. These are all things on the questionnaires, but we're not being able to pull reports on that. So can you just give me a timeline? I don't want to pressure you guys, but I'm year end and people are going to be pressuring me pretty soon.
And is that for CES or HMIS, Kimberly?
It's HMIS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to chime in.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Yeah, thank you, Kimmy, for bringing that up. I think what we'll do is I'll work on setting up a separate call with you and whoever on your team so we can try to work through that issue. So keep an eye out. You'll get an email from me here shortly.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Luis from SWAG.
Yes, similarly on my end, I tried to see if I could enter those VI SPDAT assessments on HMIS, but I don't think I have permissions at this time.
Do you know when you tried that, Luis?
Just this morning.
Okay. I would say send the request to HMIS support. I think all users should have had access last Wednesday, but if you're still getting that error, definitely please send it to HMIS support.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Marcus? All right, seeing none. Thanks, Woody. Tell Buzz hi. So
will do.
All right, next item, HMIS lead update. There is no report on this for this month's meeting. Housing resource update. I don't have any unless staff does. Tanya?
I'd be happy to give an update.
I'll go after Karen.
So I had to join Marcus in wearing a cowboy hat because of the great collaborative work that's happening between the city of Corona and the city of Norco. I mentioned this housing resource update at the Board of Governance meeting, but if there are some of you that were not participating in that meeting, I wanted to mention that I'm super excited. On the 16th of this month, our city council approved our recommendation for the selection of a developer, CNC Development, who will be partnering with Mercy House. The city of Corona owns 4.86 acres on 2nd and Buena Vista, and we hope to develop approximately anywhere from 135 to 140 units of multifamily, extremely low affordable housing, low income affordable housing. And also within that project will be about 25 units of permanent supportive housing. And just as an encouragement to those of you that are working in cities or working in collaboration with cities, one of the things that happened in Corona when we were developing our homeless strategic plan was we knew that that was an asset that was going to be used for affordable housing. So I wrote in the homeless strategic plan a recommendation that a carve out be approved for permanent supportive housing. So when City Council approved the homeless strategic plan, that was already a policy. So then when we started working on the RFP for developers, we wrote into the RFP that we wanted to make sure that there would be permanent supportive housing. So it's super exciting to see this project starting to move forward.
Great, thank you, Karen. Tanya?
All right, I just wanted to expand on our homeless prevention efforts and provide an update that Mike Walsh gave me regarding the eviction moratorium. So it looks like the legislator is moving to expand the moratorium. As many of you know, currently it is set to expire in 7 days or June 30th. And the recommendation as it stands is to expand this through what would be September 2021. So we're remaining hopeful like you, and appreciate the inquiries that many of you have sent our way to determine what resources are available for families and individuals who are past due on their rent, and with the reopening of the county, the state, etc., are now just beginning to return back to work or are looking for work. So I think that probably looking to Karen and Hafsa, anytime I think of policy, talk of policy, I think of you. You guys do a great job at leading the way for the CoC. So perhaps, we can look at discussing that further at an upcoming meeting, but know that we will keep you abreast. And the good news is that our county just received an additional $60 million, and we're looking at a even additional increase of $61 million in rental assistance to support the county's United Lift program, which again supports residents countywide who are past due on their rent. And on a local level, we have already committed to continuing to provide assistance beyond June 30th. So for now, know that our plan is to keep you informed, updated during the CoC meetings. Thankful that we're meeting every single month, and continue to advertise unitedlift.org for that purpose. So lots of resources, lots of help, and more to come on an official extension. I keep saying expansion, but really it's an extension of the eviction moratorium. So we'll be keeping you posted.
Great, thank you, Tanya. And additionally, we've heard just in the last day or two that the governor is actually proposing to pay all back rent for residents in California. So we'll look for details on that. One other thing too, I'm glad you brought up the prevention method too, Tanya, is I just was hearing on NPR yesterday for the child tax credit that was passed under the Recovery Act. Even if for those individuals who don't file taxes with the federal government, if they go to childtaxcredit.gov, they can actually apply online for that, and they'll be sent those payments. And those will be monthly payments instead of the one-time payment during tax season. So again, that's childtaxcredit.gov for any homeless or actually people in permanent supportive housing or anybody being case managers that have children. It's an extra source of income. So, all right, with that, we'll move on to item G, the Policy and Advocacy Committee update. Karen.
Thank you, Chair. So I wanted to just say it's almost coming on a year since Greg and I had the privilege to be elected by all of you as the chair and vice chair. And when Greg and I first met and talked about sort of the vision, the establishment of the Policy Advocacy Committee was one of those priorities, because we wanted to really move forward with even more strategy to improve the performance of our system of care in Riverside. And I just want to thank all of you who worked hard with us in the planning committee and then on through the continuum of care, where we actually established some really cool policies regarding good neighbor policy. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But so we had our first meeting on April the 1st, and gosh, there were like over 35 people that were in attendance, and we're getting ready to have our second meeting. And I would just like to encourage as many of you as possible to participate. And the reason is because we're going to be visioning for fiscal year 2022, right? We're embarking on this new fiscal year. And the Policy Advocacy Committee is really where we can start the important work about assessing policies that need to be established or need to be revised. So that's why I don't know if you saw in the chat where I was suggesting that we have that discussion about the preferences for shared housing, because shared housing policy, I think it's going to be important for us with the tight housing market. So just as an example, that's just one example that we can be adding to the list of priority topics. The list that you see on the screen is just examples. Obviously, the idea is to convene our Policy Advocacy Committee on July the 1st. It will happen at 2 p.m. And we're going to be going through a visioning process to establish our goals. There's a lot to do. We really want to push the continuum forward. We want to move the needle. And so I would just welcome any of you that have not participated that are interested, please join us. A couple of the other things we're going to talk about also is we realized when we first convened on April 1st, it was not feasible to meet quarterly. Everybody said we needed to meet more often. So we are going to make a recommendation to have bi-monthly meetings. Also, an hour was absolutely not enough time. So we are going to be recommending to go to 2 full hours. So some of the homework assignments that we have going forward, you helped us approve the template for the good neighbor community policy, but we want to add some narrative or meat to the bones of the structure of that. But then we also want to talk about where do we need to focus. There's a lot of emerging legislation. We need to be tracking bills. Clearly, there's value in collaborating with the Southern California Alliance of Continuums of Care, and also working with our county family to coordinate with the Association of Counties and the League of California Cities. And then just what do we want to do in terms of education so that we can really focus on key messages to bring other stakeholders to the table that are not at the table, and also to dispel myths and build bridges just to increase the performance of our continuum of care. Some of the other things that are included in the mission statement of the Policy Advocacy Committee include developing a regional funding strategy. We while we get a good amount of funding from, federal funds and state funds, we still need to tap into other resources. So we want to talk about what that means. And of course, staying on top of emerging trends and issues and solutions so we can look at constantly improving our continuum of care system. And what you don't see on there that clearly we need to talk about is housing, right? We know all roads lead to housing. So we should be looking at housing policy and resources. So for sure we can have that discussion. Michelle, thank you for suggesting that we add that as a topic of priority. And Tanya, homeless prevention and other initiatives, we really need to be looking at how can we most strategically be spending our time. So all of you that are interested, please join us. This is a critical meeting for us to shape where we want to go with the Policy Advocacy Committee in 2022, and then of course work hard and feed those important policy recommendations up to the Continuum of Care and or the Board of Governance, depending upon what we're discussing in the Policy Advocacy Committee. Any questions or comments?
When was that meeting again, Karen?
It's going to be on July the 1st at 2 p.m. And if you're interested, let Josh and I know because we'd love to add you to the invite. The more the merrier. We need as many of your smart ideas at the table. Don't be shy.
Right. Thank you, Karen. Joshua.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Just so everybody knows, I'll be Karen, I'm going to touch base with you offline just to make sure that our agenda is exactly how we want it to be. And we'll be sending that out to all CoC members this week. So that will be the agenda and the link to the meeting itself. Also, we do have our 2021 CoC meeting calendar posted on our website, and that'll have all of our upcoming meetings for each committee. CoC meetings, Board of Governance meetings, as well as all of our standing committees, policy and advocacy being one of them. So just so everybody's aware, and I typically add them to the Google Drive document for the meetings as well. So be sure to check that out. And if you do have any questions directly about any of our standing committees, please email me directly or at coc@rivco.org. I'll put both those in the chat.
Thank you, Joshua. Any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, moving on to item 7, consent items. The CoC staff report was included in the packet. Once again, great job, staff. On committee reports, just to note on the HMIS Administrators Council and CS Oversight, there's no report because there was no meeting. So, and same thing with Policy and Advocacy Committee, although we just got a great report. We didn't have any requests for letters of support or recommendation, and then there were no annual APRs. None were due and none were submitted in May. If there's any items you have, item number 8 for the agenda, please email those to the staff at coc@rivco.org. And then under item 9, announcements, I believe it was yesterday, but I know a couple emails have gone out on the CoC Board of Governance elections. And Tanya, when's the deadline for those nominations again?
Today.
All right, that's what I thought. So, right. And then the second item is the multidisciplinary approaches to ending homelessness. The next webinar series is tomorrow from 2 to 3, and it's breaking down reentry barriers. So it looks like it's going to be a good webinar. So there's the flyer for that. All right. Any other major announcements? Looks like we're going to get out here right on time. There's a lot we covered today.
I have an announcement.
Sure.
So I just wanted to mention that our city council did approve renewal of the MOU between the cities of Corona and Norco to have collaborative homeless services for motel shelter outreach and engagement and case management. And on July the 7th, the Norco City Council will be considering 2 different budget options already in the city. Just within a few weeks of launching the program, there were over 25 separate engagements, and that's not even including a lot of the folks that are in the Santa Ana River. So the city council will be considering the option to double their shelter capacity and outreach and engagement and case management. So it's pretty exciting. And even just some of the data sharing between the two cities already, we have found that about 30 to 40% of our clients, because the cities are connected, cross back and forth regularly between the two cities. So it's great to have service integration and sharing of information. So just super excited about how this partnership is evolving.
Good news. All right, anybody else? All right, seeing none, we will stand adjourned at 11:58. Thank you all for participating, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Josh, I took notes. I'll send you who I saw that wanted to be added, because you have their emails for distribution, and also some notes on updates to the agenda for our upcoming policy advocacy committee meeting. So I'll email that over to you.
Perfect. I did the same, but I'm sure yours are probably more robust than mine. I was scrambling, so thanks, Karen. Always appreciated. And
oh, sure.
Yeah, send me an email. Maybe we'll do a call like today or tomorrow, or we'll see.
That sounds good.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.